Look what I got. I scored a copy of The One and Only Bob. You guys remember The One and Only Ivan that we read earlier in the school year, about Ivan the gorilla. And remember his friend Stella? She was the old elephant that ended up passing away. But there's Ruby, who's the baby elephant, and Bob, the dog, who used to sleep on Ivan's belly. He's very like independent. He kind of just says what he's thinking. He doesn't think about how it's going to affect other people. He's very honest. And at the end of the story, if you remember George, who was the janitor who used to clean the mall where Ivan lived. His daughter Julia used to always come and visit the animals, and she ended up adopting Bob because we were really worried, like, where's he going to go? What's he going to do? So Julia adopted Bob, and in the last scene, one of the last scenes, in The One and Only Ivan, Julia brings Bob. He's peeking out of her backpack when she goes to see Ivan at the zoo. So it had a really nice ending to it, and Ivan and Ruby ended up at the same zoo, not in the same enclosure, but remember, Ivan could climb up and see her playing with the other elephants, and so that she was happy and safe too. So, this story is about Bob. Bob's going to be our main character. Okay. But it looks like Ivan and Ruby are going to appear in this one too. So that's pretty exciting. So these were characters that we loved and we cared about. So let me read you the little teaser about what the story is going to be about. Bob is an independent dog. He knows he could still make it on his own if he had to, even though he now has a home with his human friend Julia. Regular meals, belly rubs, and a bed to call his own. But most important of all, he still gets to visit his best friends at their new home. Ivan, a silverback gorilla, and Ruby, a young elephant, live nearby in a sanctuary. A home for Bob, a home for his friends, and all of the treats he could want. But something's missing. Someone is missing. Someone who Bob thought was gone forever. Until the day he realizes she's not. A lot can go wrong in the moment left to chance. The blink of an eye, the bounce of a bone. When a hurricane hits, Bob sets out on a dangerous journey in search of his long lost sister with the aid of Ivan and Ruby. In this stunning sequel to the modern classic, The One and Only Ivan, Katherine Applegate continues the story of Bob, Ivan, and Ruby as Bob finds courage he never knew he had and discovers the true meaning of friendship, family, and home. So in this one, Bob is going to be looking for his sister, his long lost sister. So he's going to go on a dangerous journey to find her. So let's take a peek. Something really interesting that Katherine Applegate does, remember this from the other story, is that at the beginning, she puts some important words. This is called a canine glossary. A canine is a dog. So she puts important words that are going to show up throughout the text. Remember in Ivan, one of the ones at the beginning was a me-ball, which, ew, it's really disgusting, I know, but where gorillas like roll up their poop and they throw it. So we learned about that when we read The One and Only Ivan. So this one has a bunch of words in the beginning that have to kind of do with this story. So let's jump into chapter 1. Remember, these are really short little chapters, so I'll read a few of them each day so that hopefully we can get through the book before the end of the year. So this one's called Confession. Look, nobody's ever accused me of being a good dog. I bark at empty air. I eat cat litter. I roll in garbage to enhance my aroma. I harass innocent squirrels. I hog the couch. I lick myself in the presence of company. I'm no saint, okay? There's Bob. So in this story, Bob is the one who's going to be telling it to us. In our last book, The One and Only Ivan, Ivan was the one who told us the story. So this one, it's from Bob's perspective. And while I'm at it, I may or may not have eaten a pepperoni pizza with anchovies when nobody was looking. Also, I may or may not have eaten a coconut vanilla birthday cake when nobody was looking. Also, I may or may not have eaten a Thanksgiving turkey, except for the stuffing, way too much rosemary, when nobody was looking. Nobody looking? That seems to be the common thread. As they say on the crime shows, motive and opportunity. So it seems like every time someone's not looking, Bob's eating something that he shouldn't be. The next one is called Robert. Name's Bob. I'm a mutt of uncertain heritage, definitely some Chihuahua, with a smidgen of Papillion on my father's side. You're probably thinking I'm some wimpy lapdog, the kind you see poking out of an old lady's purse like a hairy keychain. But size ain't everything. It's swagger, attitude. You gotta have the moves. Probably I should have been named Bruiser or Bam Bam or Bandit, but Bob's what I got, and Bob'll do me just fine. Julia named me long time ago. She's my girl. She calls me Robert when I get on her nerves. Happens pretty often, to be honest. Numero uno. There's an old saying about us dogs. Goes like this. It's no coincidence that man's best friend can't talk. Let me tell you something. If we could talk to people, they'd get an earful. You ever hear anyone mention man being dog's best friend? Nope, didn't think so. Way I've always figured it, end of the day, you gotta be your own best friend. Look out for numero uno. Learned that one the hard way. That's not to say I don't have a best pal. I do. Gorilla, name of Ivan, big guy. And I go way, way back. Gorilla and dog. Yep, I know. You don't see that every day. Long story. I love that big old ape. Ditto our little elephant friend, Ruby. They're the best. How we met. The first time I met Ivan, I was a homeless puppy. Desperate, starving, all alone. It was the middle of the night, and I'd slipped into the mall where Ivan lived in a cage. I wandered a bit, grateful for the warmth, confused by the weird assortment of sleeping animals I found there, checking every trash can for anything edible. There was a small hole in a corner of Ivan's enclosure. He was fast asleep, cuddled up with a worn stuffed animal that looked like a wary gorilla. He was snoring, and man, that guy snored like a pro. In his open palm was a chunk of banana, and I still get shivers when I think about this. I ate it right out of his hand. Guy could have squeezed his fingers shut, and I would have popped like a puppy balloon. But he just kept on sleeping. And then, more shivers. Whew. I'm either a maniac or the bravest dog on the planet. Probably a little of both. I hopped up onto that big, round, furry tummy of his. That's right. I climbed Mount Ivan. Crazy, I know. I have no idea what I was thinking. Maybe I was so exhausted I went a little bonkers. Maybe he just looked so warm and cozy that I figured it was worth taking a chance. I did my bed boogie. Dogs don't feel right till we do a quick dance before settling. Once I had things just so, I lay down in a little puppy lump and rode the waves on that tummy like a puny boat on a great brown sea. When Ivan opened his eyes the next morning, he didn't seem surprised in the least to find a puppy snoozing on his belly. He refused to move until I woke up. I think he was glad I was I think he was as glad as I was to have found a new friend. So here is when Bob first met Ivan. So remember, Ivan used to live at that shopping mall. And remember, in the corner of his cage, there was a hole in the glass because he had that bat and he had swung it and broke it. And that's how Bob slipped in and climbed up on Ivan's warm belly and took a nap there. The amazing history of man's best friend. Before long, me and Ivan were best buddies. We're an unlikely pair, sure. Ivan's calm and serene, a philosopher, an artist. I wish I could be more like that. No one's ever accused me of being level headed. Hot-headed, sure. And I can't talk pretty like Ivan can. I'm a street dog, after all, and proud of it. Still, we clicked in a way I never had with humans. Man's best friend? No way. Gorilla's best friend? You bet. Seems to me the first time I ever heard that phrase, man's best friend, was while I was watching TV with Ivan. Back in the days, Ivan had this little television and we watched a lot of stuff together. Old movies, westerns, cartoons, you name it. Poor guy was stuck in a cage, didn't have a lot else to do except throw meatballs at gaping humans. Anyways, me and Ivan, big fans of the tube, which is another name for TV. Cat food commercials, pro bowling, dancing with the stars, what's not to like? Once we watched this special on the Nature Channel. It was called The Amazing History of Man's Best Friend. Show was all about famous dogs. There were rescue dogs and therapy dogs and war dogs and fire dogs and movie dogs and this dogs and that dogs. And between you and me, most of them were just plain overachievers. Then they got to this dog named Hotch something or other. Hotch-a-toe, maybe? Seems his owner died. For the record, I object to the word owner, but we'll set that aside for now. And Hotch something or other sat around for over 9 years in the same spot at the same train station day after day, waiting for him to return. Thing is, the narrator guy was blabbing on and on about this dog, really over the top stuff. How loyal, how loving, break out the Kleenex, blah, 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 wah, wah, wah. Man's best friend. They made a statue of this dog. I kid you not. A statue of the dog who sat around 9 years waiting for a dead guy. In my opinion, that dog was a ninny, a numbskull, a nincompoop. I'm yours. Let me tell you about being man's best friend. Being man's best friend can mean a lot of things. Companionship, belly rubs, tennis balls. But it can also mean a dark, endless highway, an open truck window. If it can mean the smell of the wet wind as hands grab the box you're in with your brothers and sisters and you go sailing into the unkind night and still, crazy as it sounds, you're thinking, but I'm yours, I'm yours, I'm yours. So this is something really important that happened to Bob when he was little. Remember the people that owned him threw him and his brothers and sisters when they were just babies, they threw them out onto the highway in a box. That's what being man's best friend can get you. A black highway, an empty box, and no one in the world but you. We will stop there for today. So this one is going to be all about Bob telling us his story. And we already talked about how he and Ivan met. We learned that in here. And then we also learned that Bob was thrown out of a truck on a highway in a box when he was just a puppy. And he did have brothers and sisters with him, and we don't really know too much about what happened to them. So maybe we'll learn more about that in our book. I hope you enjoyed the first part, and we have lots more to go. So I'm excited. I hope we like this one as much as we liked the one and only Ivan. We shall see. All right, my friends, have an amazing day, and I will see you soon.